Welcome to the Cash Confident Podcast. I'm Bree Sedano, your fearless host, personal finance expert, and the visionary behind the revolutionary Cash Confident community. Get ready to embark on an electrifying journey where we redefine the rules of money and empower women to harness the immense power to craft the life they truly, truly desire. This podcast is the ultimate resource, meticulously crafted for women who are ready to unleash their financial prowess and embrace a life of abundant success. We leave no stone unturned as we delve into the depths of money management, mindset mastery, and the undeniable influence of emotions on your financial decisions. Prepare to rise above the societal limitations and break free from the chains that have held you back as we equip you with the tools and knowledge to make bold, confident choices with your cash. We believe that true financial power begins with knowledge, and that is exactly what we deliver. So buckle up, my fierce and ambitious friends, as we embark on this transformative journey to becoming cash confident together. Hello, everyone. Bree Sedano here today for the Cash Confident Podcast. And today we are going to be talking about how to break a busy, broke, and exhausted cycle. And this topic is near and dear to my heart because so many of my clients at all different income levels, at all different levels of quote unquote success, have come to me in this exact same cycle. And so what we're going to talk about today is what's the underlying, energy? What's the underlying thing that's common between busy, broken, exhausted? And then we're going to kind of reverse engineer how to break that cycle. And so that's what we are going to talk about today. And I am excited to be part of it. And if you want to dive in deeper to this kind of work with me, I do have the Cash Confident community, which is a wonderful, wonderful place that has all of the practical resources that you would need to go on a financial journey, like how to spend intentionally, how to get out of credit card debt, how to systemize your money, how to up level your money mindset, how to use wealth energetics, how to really own your value and ask for the kind of pay that you deserve, right? So those are some of the practical things that we do in there. But in addition to that, we have 6 monthly calls where you can come on and work with me, in a small group setting on your money mindset, get my eyes, ears, and attention on your situation. And then we even have some meetings where we hold space for you to just get your work done, which clients really, really love. Also, we do spending audits, which is also just a place to get my eyes and ears on your finances. And most of the clients who come to a spending audit and actually do it will save enough money in one meeting to literally pay for their entire membership for the whole year. So you can go to cashconfident.com/join if you want to check out all of the details. All right, so let's get into busy, broke, and exhausted. So there is a common thread between that busy, broken, exhausted, and it's called scarcity. It's the idea, it's the mindset, it's the physical response to not having enough. And that could be not having enough time, not having enough energy, not having enough money. And I do want to say that we have 3 primary resources in our life. And I kind of joke about these 3 primary resources. Like you could turn time, money, and energy into a college degree, into a new business, into a thriving home life, into a drug ring, whatever floats your boat. You can turn those 3 resources into any kind of life that you want. And so we're busy, broken, exhausted, right? It's time, money, energy. When we have scarcity, the idea that there's not enough, right? Running through all of those resources, we very quickly will fall into a pattern of, or like a cycle, a situation of busy, broken, exhausted. And so what I notice generally is scarcity is super pervasive. It's like one bad apple spoils a bunch. Once you have scarcity in your time, it's only a minute before scarcity is in your energy, and then it's only another minute before scarcity is in your money. I'm going to just tell you give you a quick example. Right? So let's just say today I sleep in, I run late, and then I don't have time to pour myself a cup of coffee. I run out the door and I feel like I'm running late. for me, I know anyways that when I'm running late to a place in the car, I will expend so much more energy. Like I will get to my destination, like, after I drove white knuckling it, cursing people, taking left turns and, driving the speed limit, all of that energy, I will expend so much more energy driving when I'm late than driving when I'm perfectly on time, right? And then so we can see that this is my little bag of bullshit, but that time shortage then becomes an energy shortage, and then we know that I'll be buying a cup of coffee and a snack because then I'm uncaffeinated and I'm hungry, right? And so then I'm using money that I didn't want to or plan to, that's not a big purchase. That's not that big of a deal. But, that's how that thread of scarcity kind of passes through. And we'll see it with energy too. Like I see clients use money to plug an energy leak, right? So if like at the end of the day, I'm so exhausted that I can't deal with cooking, or it's time to bring my kid to soccer practice and I literally can't even deal with looking for the cleats that I know I have, and I just go to the store and buy another pair because I'm not sure where they are. I'm not sure if I could find them. I'm not sure if they fit, right? That exhaustion will just lead to spending. And a lot of times being exhausted will cause us to misuse our time, like either waste our time. Like I know when I'm exhausted, I'll sit and watch TikToks or scroll the interwebs, and then once you're exhausted and you're scrolling, it's really, really easy, to see a really juicy little Instagram ad for something that you definitely want because, they know you. So this is how busy, broken, exhausted it kind of gets into all of the facets of your life, and and this is held in place by expectations. And sometimes I feel like they could be society expectations, but I feel like sometimes the people I've worked with just have some real unrealistic and incredibly high expectations of themselves. Expectations that one person certainly couldn't meet in one day. Like those kind of expectations where you're like, all right, well, I'm going to go to work for a whole day. I'm going to be a good mom. I'm going to keep a clean house. I'm going to eat nutritious food. I'm going to drink enough water. I'm going to have sex with my spouse. I'm going to look hot while I'm doing it. Like, honestly, it's just like kind of a lot, right? Those just aren't really all expectations that one person could really meet every single one of them every single day. It's just not realistic. So what I want you to understand about scarcity is that scarcity is its own cycle. And again, I'm always talking about things that are not perfectly linear, but this cycle, I'll just go through the pieces of it and you can just see where you are in the cycle. So let's just say there is a circumstance that will trigger the thought of scarcity, right? So let's just say, I don't have enough groceries right now, or I don't have enough money in my bank account, or I don't have enough time to get from here to there to be on time, right? That scarcity, that recognition of a lack of resources, and that could be time, money, energy, resources, then will become, a mindset, right? I will think to myself, oh, I don't have enough time, or I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough resources. I don't have, the supplies that I need, right? And that will generally create a response in the body. Now, not all scarcity hits the body the exact same way. Like financial scarcity can really trigger a fight or flight response because part of your brain's job is just like to keep your body alive every single day. And so when you're like, we don't have the resources that we need, the brain will send the signal of like, we don't have the money, right? We don't have the time. The body picks that signal up as threat of starvation, right? Which is a pretty big deal to the body, which is why scarcity can be so overwhelming, right? So then there's that physiological response. Now, fight, flight, and freeze, that can show up. I've seen that show up for people in their money in a lot of variety of different ways. Sometimes I will see people take a lot of action in scarcity that is, we'll just call it interesting, right? Like I'll see people open up a lot of bank accounts or a lot of just accounts and then play kind of like the game where they have 3 cups and a ball and they're like there'll just be a lot of movement, but really nothing changes, right? So I'll see people do that in a state of scarcity with their money. Sometimes I'll see people go and get rid of the money they have, stocking up on things. Like, I'm never going to have money again. I must go to Costco and buy every single can of tomatoes, right? Or things like, really making interesting choices with time. Like, oh, I'm going to waste my gas and my time and my energy to go to 14 different grocery stores this week to buy all of the things that are the cheapest, and choices like that. And or I will see people avoid their money, not look at their bank accounts when they're in scarcity, not look. That's generally more of like a freeze response, right? Like, not acknowledge the situation, not open their statements, not take any kind of action. And then I'll see sometimes people will just get rid of their money, like kind of like I said about the tomatoes. But, so sometimes we just take interesting actions when we're in a state of scarcity. And the action is the place that creates additional scarcity, right? So you can think scarcity in your mind and not necessarily create it in your tomorrow. You can feel scarcity in your body and not necessarily create it. But once you start taking action from that place of scarcity, that's where scarcity becomes like jam hands. Now, jam hands is a concept that actually a friend of mine was talking to me about. We were talking about my son when he was, I don't know, maybe 5. And that kid was perpetually sticky. Like, every day, he was clean. I would clean him. He would be clean, and then he would be sticky. And I'm like, where did you even get anything that would make you sticky? But everything that kid would touch, my little son Rocco, when he was like 4 and 5, would be sticky. And I would be like, just stop touching things. Let me clean you again. You're so sticky. And so we would joke about jam hands, but that's kind of what happens when we're in scarcity. It's like everything that we touch when we're in a moment of scarcity, when we're feeling scarcity in our body, when we're in that state of like, I just want to do something to not have to feel this way kind of vibe, that is jam hands. That's why scarcity is so sticky and so pervasive. So what I want you to start to pay attention to is what the scarcity, like what kind of situations will trigger your mind into being like, oh my God, there's not enough. There's not enough time. There's not enough energy. I'm so exhausted. There's never enough resources. And then what that feels like in your body. And then start to notice what kinds of actions you want to take in a moment of scarcity. And from here, we can start to learn how to regulate ourselves so that way when we're in a moment of scarcity, we get out of that scarcity before we start taking action, right? So I'll give you a couple ideas. So if you're in like a full blown like panicky feeling, about scarcity, one of the things that you can do that's super fast and super effective is to raise your heart rate up for like 90 seconds. You don't need to go to the gym. You don't need to do a lot of exercise. 90 seconds, should do the trick. But what that does is when your body gets a fight or flight response and then it believes that it did the fight or flight, it closes that loop and it can calm down and stop looking for danger, right? So a lot of times that lack of resources, your body gets all of that energy, that like flush of adrenaline and stress. So that way you could literally go hunt yourself a deer for dinner, right? That's like what your body's getting ready for. But since most of your money problems can probably actually not be solved by hunting, getting your brain back online really would be more helpful. So raising your heart rate up for just a few minutes will really help to move you through that cycle. And that's like in an acute moment. In some medium term scarcity, like ways to retrain your brain. Now listen, I want to say this too. Your brain is always going to notice scarcity more than it notices abundance, because scarcity is dangerous and abundance is not, right? And your brain has to keep you alive every single day. That's why people are like, I just want to get rid of my scarcity mindset. And I'm like, once and for all. And I'm like, well, so it's like part of your like literal part of your brain that like keeps you alive every day. So we're probably we're not gonna, like, one, it's not gonna go away, and two, we really don't want it to. Like, the thing about scarcity, that scarcity gets a really, really bad rap, is that the decisions that we make in it when we don't know how to manage it well. But the truth is scarcity comes with focus. I'm going to take a sip of water. Scarcity comes with focus and a lot of oomph. Like there's a lot of energy in that fight or flight, which can be really helpful to get some things done. So it's not always all bad. It's just how you manage yourself through scarcity. And you can learn to manage yourself through scarcity gracefully. Like it took me a couple of years to do, but I'm breaking this down for you right now for free. So that way, you don't have to spend 7 years learning how to do the thing. I'm just teaching it to you. Right. So learning to rewire your brain to be more balanced towards abundance is, honestly, it's a gratitude practice. It's an appreciation practice, and it's a noticing and acknowledging of the abundance in your life. And it doesn't always have to be financial abundance, because once you can start to really notice, abundances of beauty or space or whatever else, like sometimes tuning into the money aspect of it is just a little bit harder because we have more belief structures in there. But you can certainly go look at the sky and be like, wow, there's an abundance of space here. You can look at the blades of grass and you're like, there's an abundance of grass here. You can look, even when you're in your house, I just got myself together for the day. So when you're in the shower and you're like, oh, I have an abundance of shampoo, more shampoo than I could even use today. I couldn't even use all of this shampoo today if I wanted to. I have an abundance of shampoo. And you do that same kind of practice with your toothpaste and with, in your pantry and in your cabinets and in your refrigerator and things like that. And you'll start to really, what it does is it trains your brain to see it. And then it also helps your body to relax. Like, oh, you know what? Maybe I don't have enough of this one thing, but I do have enough of this, and I do have enough of this. And it just helps your body to remember that, you're probably not going to starve to death. You're going to be fine, right? And that really helps to make better decisions. When our body's all full of stress hormones and adrenaline, we're not making our best choices. So, a gratitude, appreciation, or abundance practice, those are things that you can do. You can start them in your journal if you want to. You could say them out loud. Sometimes I send little gratitude or appreciation text messages to people that I care about, and I think that's nice. The way that you do it, it doesn't even matter. You could speak them out loud when you're driving. Sometimes if I'm driving, usually by myself, if I'm driving by myself, I'll just speak out loud, of all the beautiful things, all of the abundance of beauty that I see in the world. And it's these just little micro practices. You don't necessarily need to get out your journal and talk, or write for a half hour every day. But the more that you can get your body. So for me, gratitude really feels like a very warm and fuzzy kind of emotion. It feels really filling. It's a really kind of good, it feels good in my body, that state, right? Same thing for appreciation and abundance. It feels really safe. So the more I can use my mind to get my state to move into those places, the better decisions I make. And honestly, the more money that I make too, right? The less I feel my body being in that tight, constricted, icy cold puddle of scarcity, the more my business flourishes, the more I'm able to pay for support that I require. And that sort of stuff does take time, but it feels slow in a moment, but when you look back, you're like, wow, I really drastically changed my situation, over a couple of months. That's some real good stuff there. So those are some great places to kind of get started. And I'm going to give you maybe one more thing to talk about on a practical level. But when we are thinking about changing our financial habits, a lot of times one of the core problems that I see with people when they're in this cycle of busy, broke, and exhausted, and they're trying to save money, is that they do it with time and energy resources that they actually don't have to spend. Right? So let's just say I'm already busy. I'm already exhausted and I'm having a money problem. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, what do I have control over? And for most people, they go to like their food budget. That's what I really, really find, working with clients is they'll be like, all right, I'm eating out too much, or I spend too much on food. Let me go to multiple different grocery stores to buy the least expensive everything, right? Or let me really, so that's like one way people will do it. Or sometimes I'll see things like, let me come up with this really incredible budget and money tracking system that requires a lot of energy, a lot of mental energy to keep up with. And then that sort of stuff doesn't work. There's other ways, but a lot of times that's generally the cause, right? It's like, I'm going to fix my money problem by expending a lot of time. I'm going to fix my money problem by expending a lot of energy. And when we're in that cycle of busy, broken, exhausted, that is a for sure, like you will fail. And it's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's because you're trying to spend resources you don't have. You are already busy. You don't have time. You are already exhausted and you don't have energy for that. So what I suggest doing when that's the case is to really look through your transactions and really look for ways that you could increase efficiency in your household, like the way that you procure all of the goods, right? Like if you were like the procurement department of your address, how could you, most of the time it's shop less. Like how are like some of the things that I suggest to clients is things like going to the grocery store one time per week, going to like a bulk store like a Costco or a BJ's or something where you buy 8 pounds of walnuts, to try to do those kind of things, once a month, or if you're really organized, once a quarter, clothes shopping, depending on, if you have children, the age of your children, or if you're upgrading a wardrobe, or if you just change sizes, this may not be perfectly true for you, but, somewhere between 2 and 4 times a year is enough, to usually keep an updated wardrobe. And what I find when we do less shopping is that we get time, money, and energy back, because every single one of those decisions you make at a grocery store or at the clothes store or at any kind of shopping, those have a mental energy cost. So when we can shop less and do all of that less often, we save time, money, and energy. And that's the kind of places that we start to free up those resources to start to look at all right, because start to look at really what's going to move us in the direction of the life that we want, right? So people don't go on a financial journey just to have better numbers in their bank accounts. Although sometimes they think that. Really, we want to create the life that we want. That's why we're doing this. That's why I would say no to margaritas. If you called me for margaritas and I was like, no, I don't, I would rather spend the money on something else. It's about that intentional creation of the life that we want. So that the intentional creation of life that you want creates time, money, and energy directed to that life. And so once we can wiggle out of this pattern, right? Once we stop letting scarcity make all of our decisions and we can wiggle out of this busy, broken, exhausted, and we start to be well-resourced in our time and we find some spaciousness and stretchiness in our time. And once we're not busy and we feel like, we got a good night's sleep and, we had time to play and I had time to be and time to enjoy, some of our ravenous consumption just kind of goes away, right? Because a lot of the times that we're really spending a lot of money, it's to plug a time leak or plug an energy leak. And so when you're looking through your transactions, those are the things that you're going to want to look for is, how am I using this money to plug a time or energy leak? And then if you have if you're using money to fix a time problem, it's really just a Band-Aid. You're going to have to fix a time problem with a time-based solution. You're going to have to fix an energy problem with an energy-based solution. Although in a moment you can use money to buy time, or you can use money, to buy energy, right? If I get takeout, it's either conserving time or energy, depending on kind of where I'm coming from. So learning to see all three of these resources as something to be managed really helps you to kind of start to call back these resources And for most people, there's low-hanging fruit, right? Like the other day, I just did a class, and I talked with a married couple who were like in a total state of busy, broken, exhausted. And so the fella smokes cigarettes, and every single day he goes and he buys himself a pack of cigarettes, and every single day he spends an additional $5 to $10 on like snacks or drinks or whatever, the things that he wasn't going to the store for them. They just happen to be there, and he would just happen to buy them. So when we think about the cost, we have, let's call it, 30 trips, 30 starting your cars, 30, 10-minute drives there and back, of gasoline. I don't know how much that equates to, but probably a half a tank of gas over the course of 30 days. An additional, let's call it $10 a day. It's an extra $300 a month in addition to the price of the cigarettes. And then, even if it was 20 minutes a day, right, there and back, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes back, was that 600 minutes? It's 10 hours a month. And it's like, yeah, of course you're busy, broken, exhausted. You're expending 10 hours, an additional $300 in addition to the cigarettes. And every day you have to think about it. Every day you have to manage your cigarette supply, right? Every single day. So just that one thing was costing this person 10 hours, 3 additional $100, and that many thoughts, that much mental energy. And, and I was talking with his spouse there, and she was traveling all over, 2 towns doing her shopping, because she tries to get the cheapest stuff to save the most amount of money. She's going to Aldi's, she's going to, a different grocery store, she's going to BJ's, she's going to, all of these different places, and then she's feeling exhausted, and then they're ordering takeout. And it's like all of these resources, this time, money, and energy, and then like if you go to 3 different grocery stores with your kids, you are definitely buying, like you're not saving money. One impulse purchase negates any savings on the cheapest granola bars that you were going to get. And that after you've been to 3 different grocery stores, if you're bringing kids, like they're getting you for a snack, they're getting you for a pack of gum, they're getting you for a high sugar drink. Like it's just part of it. And even if you're not with kids, like I'm getting myself for a Reese's peanut butter cup after I've been to the store, like after I've spent all that mental energy, and then I'm just in my impulses waiting, to check out. I'm like, ooh, Reese's peanut butter cups? Yes, please. Right? So this is how you can start to reverse engineer breaking out of that busy, broken, exhausted cycle. It's looking for the places that you can save time, money, and energy all at once. And the thing that I want to put out there to you is you have to prioritize at first the time and energy when you're saving, right? And people will always fight me about like, oh, well, I know that the snacks at Aldi's are cheaper. I know that this is the cheapest way to get this. I know that this, this thing costs more at the grocery store. And really, I've been doing this with, I've talked with thousands of people over the last decade. So just trust me for a minute and try it and see how it goes. But I find that if you do less shopping, you spend less money, and you spend less time, and you spend less energy. And that's generally the place that gets you out of that busy, broken, exhausted cycle. Even if you do, on an individual item, pay more money, like for said granola bars, like you may pay more money and still spend less time, less energy, and less money altogether over the course of the week. So I guess that is my lesson that I wanted to teach you today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're taking something from it, something that you can implement in your life effective immediately. And please share this podcast with a friend. We're doing this all organically. So please send this link to somebody that you think would benefit, somebody that you think would love to hear this, somebody that needs maybe a little permission to do less grocery shopping or less focus on saving dollar amount, for the big picture. And please leave a review. You can go to the place that you're actually listening to it on Spotify or on Apple, and leave a review so that way we can, hit the top of the charts and help start to bring financial power lessons to all of the ladies all over the world. I would love and appreciate your help with that. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. I love you. And I will talk to you again next week. It was my pleasure and joy to talk with you today. Thank you for listening. If you found value in our conversation, I kindly ask you to share the show with a friend who deserves to unleash her financial power. Your feedback is so valuable to me. So please take a moment to leave a review. Together we can amplify the message and bring more money into the hands of good women. For ongoing guidance and unwavering support on your financial journey, I invite you to join the Cash Confident community. Visit www.cashconfident.com/join to become part of our powerful community of women where we uplift and inspire one another to reach new heights of financial success. Remember, you possess the power to shape your financial destiny, and with the Cash Confident podcast and the support of our remarkable community, you are unstoppable. Embrace your financial power, create the life you desire, and let's ignite a movement of cash confident women who are transforming the world $1, one decision at a time.